Right, hello everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another lesson on file handling. Today we'll be looking at all the different ways that we can read from a file like we did last lesson, and how to write to a file. That's what we'll be doing this lesson. So last lesson we were looking at how to read a file from a file in Python, and how to convert a file's contents into a list. And we had this bit of tasks that I wanted you to send me. Got quite a few of those through. I think a lot of people tended to struggle a bit. Like the first bit was really easy for most people, but a lot of people struggled with the second part. So we're going to have a look at how we would do this. So first, I've just set up a quick little text file here with some games in it, and in my main.py I've got with open games.txt, and then R, which means read, don't forget, as file. That all I would need to do if I press play is file.read. That reads out all the lines of the file. Now, we could have made this a bit more complicated by going through and reading one line at a time, but just to make that really clear, that's how we do it. How would we, for example, print every other line instead of every line? That would be a bit different. So I would then use the way that we had before of converting our file into a list. So first I would create a variable called, I'll probably call it list or lines, something like that. Lines equals file dot read dot split lines. Okay. Then I would leave that section of the text file and go through a for loop. So for I in range, and then I would say how many items are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So up to 6. So 0 to 6. Yeah, because we're not including the 6th item, are we? So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and for it to go up in 2s. Remember when we're doing our for loop, this is how often it goes up in. And then we can say lines. So hang on, print first. Print lines I. Okay, make sure I've actually written in the right thing there. And then it should only print out every other one. So it might only print out this one, this one, this one, for example. So if I run this, there you go. Okay, so being able to convert your file into a list is really useful to be able to do things like this, where you're only looking at certain items. Now let's look at the other one. Create a program which asks the user to enter the name of one of the games in the file. It will then search the text file and print out the line of the text file which matches to the screen. So what I'm going to do is pretty much the same thing as I've done here, but then I'm going to have user game equals input. So user game is just the name of a variable name here, and I'm going to ask them, please type the name of a game. Okay, and then I would say if user game in lines. So if the user's choice of game is in there, then that's great. We can print out what was it they wanted us to do? Print out the line of the text file which matches to the screen. So there's two things we could do here. We could just print out not user game. We print out lines dot we'd have to go. So one of the things that you might want to do here to try and remember exactly what we're using, because I still need to do this sometimes, I would suggest you go onto the drive, go into the Year 9 folder, find the practical section, intermediate programming, and look through this lists lesson and wait for it to load. So what we're trying to do is trying to find the section which talks about finding a certain value. So here we go. It's further down, isn't it? So we've got the if Paul in friends, print found him, else print not there, and we've got this index bit, so we can find out where our item is. So what we can do, that's the wrong one, I'll get to that in a minute. Lines dot index, and then we're going to put in user game. Okay, because whatever the users typed in, we're looking for the same index as what is being printed out, if that makes sense. So I might put in there as well, just to make it a little bit more obvious, the game you have picked is on line, and then comma, lines.index, user game. Okay, I know that's a bit more complicated to look at, but and then hopefully I'm going to put in else print the game is not in that list, is not in that file. Okay, so if I run this, please type the name of the game. Okay, I'm going to say Portal 2. The game you have picked is on line 1. Now don't forget as well that actually to us line 1 isn't actually line 1, because the games, this is actually how a user would think this is line 1, whereas actually this is line 1 according to Python. So what we would need to do is just to make it more clear to the user, we might need to just add 1 to this value here. So I'm just going to add 1 here, and then it will make it a little bit nicer. So if I do Portal 2 again, I've written it in the wrong place. I knew that was going to happen. Portal 2, and then the game you've picked is on line 2. That's a lot nicer to look at, yeah. And then if I run it again, and I pick, I don't know, let's pick a different game. Let's go for, that game is not in that file. Okay, so you can see that we can pick from a list of items. We can find out what line it's on. As you can see here, we've got line 1, line 2, line 3, but in Python, it reads the first line as line 0. Okay, so hopefully that will help you remember some of the bits that we did last lesson, and the going through these ideas and kind of seeing what we can do there. So just to quickly go back over that, just to make sure you've understood. This with open is really important. It allows us to open the file safely, and it will close it for us after we've finished our indentation. Okay, and this R here means that we're opening it in read mode, and I'm sure later you can work out how we might decide to open it in write mode instead, because it's spelt differently from read, isn't it? And file is the name of the file that we've opened, and as allows us to have that as a file, a variable name. We've created a list called lines by using this special code here, which is file.read, which allows you to read all of the file, and then split lines just allows you to split those lines into a file, into a list. And then we've got a user input and saying if the game that the user has picked is in that list of lines, then you can say the game you've picked is on line whatever. And don't forget, this lines.index allows us to find the which line it is actually on. And it says else the game is not in that file. Okay, hopefully you've kind of been able to understand that, understand how it works. If you've got any particular questions about how it works, if you're confused by something, please mention it in the chat, because I don't want to just move on when people are still confused. Okay, I am going to move on, but please do ask questions if you have them, and I'll come back to them. So today's lesson, oh, we're not doing all of that, but I forgot to get rid of these two bits. Understand how to write a file in Python. That's the main thing we're doing today. We might move on to how to append a file and looking at the difference between the two next lesson, but this lesson we're going to specifically be looking at how to write to a file in Python. Okay, so when we write to text files in Python, we need to actually create the file, open it in write mode. Now you can see here that I've got with open the new file.txt. This can be called whatever you want it to be. So you're not, obviously you're creating the file here, so you can call it whatever you want. And we're using here, as I'm sure you have managed to guess by now, W to open it in write mode rather than read mode. And I've used a different variable name, but again, you can use whatever variable name you want here to show what your file is. Okay. So we need to create the text file. We need to use the function we used before, this open function. When we open a file in write mode by using this W, it creates the file and it allows us to write text to it. And we need to create a variable to assign the text file to using the as keyword. So here we've called it new file. So don't forget your colon, your keyword open here, your keyword with, your keyword as. All of those are really important. Don't forget the comma between the new file.txt and W. All of those are really important. And you kind of, if you miss any of that, it will come up with an error. Okay. So if we want to write to the file, if we start writing to the file we've created, we need to add .write to the end of our new variable, followed by some brackets, and then obviously you write into the file what text you want to add. So I'm going to show you an example of how this would work, and I'm going to show you how it would work in both Trinket online and the Thonny version of it, because it will look quite different in both circumstances. So in Trinket, we've got, oh, hang on, let me get rid of some of this because it will be a bit confusing. I'll come back to that in a moment. We are opening, so this is exactly the same text as I had in there before. It will open a new file with W as new file, and then it will write hello world to that file. And if I click run, then nothing will happen over here because we haven't told it to print anything out. We've just told it to write something to a file. But you will have noticed that this now exists, and it's got hello world in there. So it's actually a little bit easier in Trinket to see what's going on, because you can see straight away this new file having been created, and you can always delete that file, and I might just rename this as newfile.txt, and it would still do the same thing but be called newfile.txt instead. So it's actually a little bit easier in Trinket to see what's going on, because you just click between these tabs at the top here. Whereas in Thonny, let me bring my Thonny over and get rid of all of those extra bits. So here's my Thonny thing. I've already saved it. In fact, I'll save it again. And I've saved it into a USB drive here. Let me just minimize all of these so you don't see all my extra bits. So it's already been saved, but I haven't run it yet. Now, what you should notice when I run it, if I bring this down a little bit, again, nothing will happen down here, apart from it shows that it's run. But you'll notice that it's appeared in the exact same file as my Python file. So when you get to working on Python files in school, or if you've already installed Thonny at home, which is quite easy to do, you just search for Thonny, and there's a download link you can click on. When you get to doing these at home, at school, sorry, you can create your text files, and you can see here it's been created. And if we open it up, let me bring it over here, we've got Hello World printed there for us. Okay. Now you need to make sure again that you've closed it every time, because otherwise, in fact, if I keep it open for a moment, just checking to see if this does what I think it will. No, seems fine. Now, oh, hang on, if I were to change this, hello again world, something like that, and if I run it, then it doesn't look like anything's changed, but that's only because I've kept this open. If I close it and then try and open it again, it will show me my new version. Okay, so when you're working on it on here, you need to make sure you keep closing and opening it again, because otherwise it won't show you your most up-to-date version of your text file. Okay. Now, next thing I want to talk about is we can write multiple lines as well. If we want to write more than one line to the file, we need to tell the computer when to start a new line. To do this, we use this special code here, which is \n, not /n, \n. This is next to the Z on most keyboards, and you don't need to press Shift or anything. It should just be the one next to the Z. Okay. We don't need to put this in for the last line because there's no other line coming after it. So we've got new file.write hello world \n, new file.write hello world again \n, and new file.write no more hello world. So let's have a go at that. Again, I'm just going to open it in Thonny. I'm just going to see if I can go back, because I'd already written all of this. Yeah. So if I run this, hello world \n, hello world again \n, no more hello world. If I run that, it won't actually show my \n in there. It will show a new line instead. So if I run that, again, it doesn't look like anything's happened, but if I open up my file, it shows me hello world again, no more hello world. And I just, for completion's sake, I will show you in Thonny as well. Not Thonny, Trinket. And if I run it, oh, of course, because this one's called the new file and this one's called new file, so let me get rid of that one. Let's get rid of that so we can see what's going on. hello world again, no more hello world. Now, one of the other things I want to mention is you don't need all of these over and over again. You could just put this all on one line, but it is sometimes a bit nicer to see it all separate like this, just to make it a bit easier to read. But you can write it like this. It might look a bit odd, but it is perfectly capable of, oh, my mouse has disappeared, there it is. It understands that this symbol here means, it's a bit like you pressing the enter key on your keyboard. It means go to the next line. Okay, let me just change hello, let me change this to hi world. Okay, and then you'll be able to see that this is the same idea as before. Again, doesn't look like anything's happened. I've still got the old version of it open, which I need to close. And then if I open it again, it will show me hi world, hello world again, no more hello world. And even though it was written on one line, this \n here means go on to a new line, like pressing the enter key on your keyboard. Okay, so and again, you can do the exact same thing in Thonny, not Thonny, Trinket. I keep mixing those two up. You can just write it as one long string of text, and it will, again, if I look at this without running it, it will show me the older version. We change something here, hi world again, and then run it. And there we go, hi world, hello world again. Okay, even though it's all on one line, it still goes to a new line on each section because you've got your \n there. Okay, right. Let's, got a lot of things going on here. So that file will be written to the same folder. If you're doing it on, say, Thonny, it will be written to the same folder and saved in the same place as you wrote your file, as you saved your Python file. Okay, so it shows an example here of exactly what we were looking at. So I've got some challenges for you. I want you to write a program that writes your top 10 films of all time to a text document. Or one thing I was going to do, which I forgot to do, but I will do it now, is add to the drive this PowerPoint. So let me quickly do that before I forget about it. Bring this over. Let's put it in the right place. So the first thing I want you to do is to write a program that will writes your top 10 films of all time to a text document. Okay, now I've just added in, you might need to refresh the page when you get to it if you've just opened it, but I've just added in file handling to writing, which is a PowerPoint that I've just been running from. So that is that one there. So you should be able to look back through this PowerPoint to try and remind yourself of how to do that. Then list your top 10 songs of all time in a text document and create a program that reads the entire text file and displays it to the screen. That should be fairly straightforward based on what we've already done. Then write a program that asks the user for a list of shopping items and write each item in turn to a text document that the user can then physically print out. So if I have a text document like this, then I can go File, Print, and I can press Print and actually print out my document, which is something that could be useful if you're, say, creating a shopping list or something even more complicated than that. But that would be something that they would be able to do from a text document, whereas it would be a bit harder to do from a Python program being run. Okay, so I'm going to give you a bit of time to have a go at that. Please let me know if you have any questions. Please let me know if you want any support with anything, and please also post into the into Satchel 1, into Show My Homework, what you have managed to do. I think again what I'm going to end up doing is ending the lesson there, because again these are the 3 things I would like you to be doing, and I expect you to just get on with it and send me your work. Please, as I say, send me your work. I know I've been really bad at adding all the points in, but I will try and get round to that later. I will try and make sure I get that done over the half term, but please pester me if I keep forgetting, because it's something I keep forgetting to do. All right, so as I say, I'm going to just end it there, but I do expect you in the next 35 minutes or so to be having a go at these 3 challenges. You can obviously pause the video if you want here, so that you have it available so you can see what challenges you're looking at. Please remember to use the you could even just open the PowerPoint to look at the challenges there. Okay, so I'm going to end there. Obviously next week is half term, so I won't be seeing you then, but I will be seeing you the week after, and I'm hoping to continue being able to do these live streams as I have been, probably right up to the end of the school year, and we'll see how we go from then. But obviously, depending on how the systems are running and how the government want us to go, it will depend on all of that. So you will know when, not long after I find out. Okay, so have a lovely week and have a lovely half term. I expect to see these in my Satchel 1 inbox as soon as possible. Bye.